friends, in this video we are going to discuss the questions that were asked from the module Communication, the June 2020 exam for the English students. So, in the last exam, the June 2020 exam, we had two shifts for English, morning shift and afternoon shift, and the questions that we are going to discuss in this video is from the afternoon shift. Okay. So, the first question that we are going to discuss in this video is a match the following question, and this is from the area types of communication. So, we have list 1 where we have given certain examples, and list 2 we have various types of communication as well, and we have to match these two lists. That is what the question is all about. So, in list 1 we have A, prayer in silence, B, teacher talking to students outside the classroom, C, the CEO of a company issues a circular to his subordinates, D, rumor mongering among employees of an organization. And in list 2 we have vertical communication, grapevine communication, interpersonal communication and group communication. So, if you consider prayer in silence, that is basically an interpersonal communication. It is a communication that happens between us and with God. So, that is an interpersonal communication. So, prayer in silence can be associated with interpersonal communication, and in option B we have teacher talking to students outside the classroom. So, if you consider this particular example here, here we have a teacher who is talking to his or her students outside the classroom. So, that is a definite group of people, and all these people, they know each other as well. So, these kind of a communication in which a few people are involved or a definite number of people are involved, and also if the people, they know each other, that kind of a communication can be called as group communication. So, teacher talking to students outside the classroom can be associated with group communication. Option C, the CEO of a company issues a circular to his subordinates. So, if you consider this particular example that is given here as option C, here the message flows from a superior to a subordinate or a superior to the subordinates. So, a CEO of a company is issuing a circular to his subordinates. So, the message flows from the superior to the subordinates. In that case, that can be called as a vertical communication. That is a vertical communication where you have a superior, the CEO, who is issuing a circular to his subordinates. So, that is a vertical communication. So, option C can be associated with option 1. And the only option that is left out in list 2 is grapevine. That means grapevine communication is another term for informal communication. And if you consider option D, rumor mongering among employees of an organization. So, the conversation that happens between the employees of an organization, the various rumors that going between these employees of an organization, that is a very informal kind of communication, and grapevine is a term that is associated with informal communication. If that is the case, option D can be associated with option 2. So, coming back to our options here, option 1 A here, prayer in silence, that can be associated with interpersonal communication. So, A is 3. So, then we have B, teacher talking to students outside the classroom, that is option 4 here, group communication. So, B is 4, and C, the CEO of a company issues a circular to his subordinates, C is 1, vertical communication, C is 1, and then we have D, rumor mongering among employees of an organization, that is grapevine communication. So, D is 2. So, A is 3, B 4, C 1 and D 2, that is option B. So, the right answer for this question is option B. Moving to the next question. Reframing in communication means, and you have the options: employment of new metaphors, rejecting the conventional expressions, opting for hyperbole and preferring oppositional binaries. So, in order to answer this question, what we have to know here is the meaning of reframing. What do I mean by reframing in a communication? So, reframing is basically the act of steering a communication to a new context, or in other words, to make it more simpler, reframing is a process in which we are giving a different perspective to something that we are talking about, or giving a different angle to what we are talking about. So, that is what it means here, steering a conversation into a new context or frame This moving away from the current viewpoint and onto another one. So, we are talking about something, and if you want to give another perspective to that particular issue that we are talking about, or that particular topic that we are dealing with, in that case you can use reframing, or that process of steering your conversation to a new context, giving a new perspective or giving a new angle to that particular thing that you are talking about. That process can be called as reframing. Okay. So, in that case, what is the best answer that you can give for this question that is asked here? So, if you consider the options here, if you consider the first option, employment of new metaphors, employment of new metaphors, if you consider that option, you can say that what I mean by employing new metaphors, you are using some metaphors, new metaphors, in order to give a new perspective to what you are talking about. So, you are comparing, or you are making a comparison. In that particular case, you are giving a metaphor in order to compare what you are talking about. So, that will give a very new kind of a perspective of, or a very new kind of an overlook to that particular thing that you are talking about. So, in that case, reframing in communication, I have already said to you, that is the process of steering your conversation into a new context or to a new frame. For that, what you can do, one of the best options that you can do is using new metaphors, using new examples. That will help you in giving a new kind of an outlook to that particular topic that you are talking about. In that case, the right answer for this question is option 1, employment of new metaphors. So, moving to the next question. Which of the following contribute for effective cross-cultural communication? So, what do you mean by this cross-cultural communication? So, this is the communication that happens between two persons who belongs to different cultural backgrounds. So, that is cross-cultural communication. So, what are the factors that are contributing to effective cross-cultural communication? That is a question here. And you have the options: quick flow of words, use of foreign words, selection of simple words, taking turns to speak, maintenance of etiquette. And you have to find 3 adequate or 3 answers, appropriate answers or factors that are contributing to effective cross-cultural communication from the options. If that is the case, if you consider the first option, quick flow of words. So, these two people, they belongs to different cultural backgrounds. So, if you are using a very quick flow of words, at times the other person who is belonging to another culture or another place, they cannot, or another country in some cases. So, that person might find it difficult to understand what you are talking about. So, quick flow of words is not something that can actually contribute to the effectiveness of cross-cultural communication. So, that is about option A. Option B, use of foreign words. So, as I have already mentioned, this cross-cultural communication means it is a communication that happens between people of different cultural backgrounds. So, that can even include people from different countries. In that case, if you are using a foreign word which is unknown to the person or the receiver who is involved in the communication process, that cannot make the communication effective, right. So, if you are using a foreign word that is not understood by the person to whom you are talking, then how can you call that kind of a communication as effective, right. In that case, again option B is not an adequate answer for this question, or that is not a factor that can actually contribute to an effective cross-cultural communication. Moving to option C, selection of simple words. That is a very good thing that you can do. Both of you belong to different cultural background, different places. In that case, if you are using simple words to communicate, that will help both of you to have an understanding about the things that you are trying to communicate. Selection of simple words is really a good thing, and taking turns to speak. So, if you are taking turns, you have spoke at the first place, you have said something, and after that you are giving the other person a chance to give his response. So, if you are taking that turns in your speech or in your communication, that will give you or that will make the communication more effective. So, when you are speaking, the other person, he is getting a chance to listen to it, and after listening it and understanding it, he is talking back to you. So, taking turns and speaking is a very good thing that you can, that is a very good characteristic of an effective speech in that sense, and also it is a very good thing when you are considering the cross-cultural communication as well. and maintenance of etiquette. That is again a good thing, that is a very good thing or an effective thing that you can consider under cross-cultural communication. In that case, option A and B cannot be answers for this question, so you can eliminate those options, and coming to the answer you have C, D and E. So, C, D and E is option 4, so the right answer for this question is option 4. Moving to the next question. This is a statement wise question, and you have two statements that are given. Statement 1 says cross communication or cross cultural communication promotes teamwork in the classroom, and statement 2 says exactness of communication in a cross cultural setting is flexible and responsive. So, if you consider statement 1, it says cross communication promotes teamwork in the classroom, but if you consider that particular statement a bit more closer, we already said that cross cultural communication, it happens between two persons of different backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, who is having different opinions about things, maybe from different gender or different sexual orientation, or people who is from different social backgrounds. So, at that point of time, these people, they might be having different viewpoints on things. If you are giving them a chance to discuss on something, or if you are giving them a topic to talk about, so these people will be having different ideas, or they might be having extremely different ideas. In that case, we cannot say that cross communication promotes teamwork in the classroom, because this kind of cross cultural communication happens in between people who are different in their cultural backgrounds, or they are different, sometimes, as I have already mentioned, they will be belonging to different countries. So, in that case, they are different, and so that their opinions and their viewpoints are different, of course. In that case, we cannot say that cross cultural communication can actually promote teamwork in the classroom. So, that is not a right statement. Okay. Statement 2, exactness of communication in a cross cultural setting is flexible and responsive. So, how to communicate in a cross cultural communication, that is depend upon the context and the people who are involved in it. So, exactness of communication is in a cross cultural setting is always flexible and responsive. In that case, statement 1 is false and statement 2 is true. So, statement 1 is incorrect, but statement 2 is true. So, the right answer for this question is option 4. Moving to the next question. The emergence of media of communication in chronological sequences. So, basically this is a chronological sequence based question, in which they have given you different media of communication, and based on the emergence of the media, the given media of communication, you have to make them into a chronological sequence. So, we cannot expect the same question coming again in another exam. We cannot expect that. There are chances, but in most of the cases this same question might not be coming in the next exam. But the thing is, if you consider June 2020 exam, there were so many questions that were from this chronological sequence. So, if you consider communication, in which you have given the emergence of media of communication and the emergence of language, and there were certain questions which were based on the chronology. So, that means that we cannot expect the same questions to be coming again in the next exam, but the thing is that they have concentrated on these types of questions, the questions that are based on the chronological sequence. There is a tendency that we can see in the question papers that in which we have questions that are from this category. So, that is one thing that you have to notice. As I have already mentioned, we cannot expect the same questions coming again and again, but the chronological sequence questions are coming now. So, that is a new trend that we can see in paper 1 questions. So, that is something that we need to understand. So, we have given various options: radio, newspaper, film, television and internet, and we have to give, or we have to arrange them in the chronological sequence. So, if you consider the chronological sequence, newspaper, it was came into existence from 1605, and then we have films which were from 1888. Radio was invented in the year 1895, and television was invented in the year 1925, and internet came into existence from 1990. So, this is the sequence that we can derive from the given question. So, newspaper, if you consider, newspaper is option B, then we have film, that is option C, then we have radio, that is option A. Then we have television and internet. Television is option D and internet is option E. So, B, C, A, D, E is the sequence, the chronological sequence, which is based on the emergence of the media of communication that are given in the options. So, the thing is, I repeat the same thing I have already said to you. We cannot expect the same question as such coming repeatedly in the next time. The chronological based question, chronological sequence based questions, there were a few questions in the same pattern that were in the June 2020 questions especially the June 2020 paper 1 questions if you consider. So, in that case that is a new trend. So, please do remember that you can expect these types of questions in the coming exams as well. So, B, C, A, D and E. So, the right answer for this question is option 2. So, in this video we have discussed the questions that were asked from the module communication for the English students in the recent exam, June 2020 exam, and we concentrated on the afternoon shift. So, we had 2 shifts, morning shift and afternoon shift, and we have discussed the questions that were asked in the afternoon shift. So, I think we have a variety of questions that were asked in this particular shift. We have we had questions from the areas that we always consider as the most important areas, like types of communication. We had a question from that, and there were also general types of questions that were also coming from this particular module as such. So, as we are approaching an exam very soon in October, you might be confused what to study and how to study, what are the things that we have to consider under paper 1, what are the major topics that we need to cover. So, if you have so many of these doubts, Appleby Academy is very happy to help you out there. So, we have our classroom and online classes available here. We have a very student friendly atmosphere here in our classroom classes, and also we are providing you with online classes as well. So, we have live interactive sessions, and also we have a very comprehensive online platform as well, the learning management system, in which you will be having the resources, various materials in various forms and modes are available. So, you are having not syllabus based notes, then you will be having 24/7 available pre-recorded video classes, and test papers are also available, that too in exact Nta software format, and the PPTs that we are using for our pre-recorded videos will be also uploaded there in our LMS platform. And doubt clearance session is another attraction of this particular course that we are providing online. So, if you have any doubts, you can send your doubts through WhatsApp to the educators here, and we are very happy to give you the explanations and help you out in your preparations as such. So, if you really want to join us with Appleby, you can contact us through the numbers and the websites that are given in the description box. So, I hope this video will help you in your preparations. Thank you and happy learning.